G'day, I'm Warwick Schiller, and today I want to talk to you about the fact that whenever you go anywhere near your horse, you're teaching them something good or something bad. You know, this is our yearling Bundy, and the other day we had an event here at Gilroy Gates, and he was turned out in a turnout like this, and someone walked past and was patting him over the fence, and I wanted to go over and say, don't do that, but I didn't really want to be the bad guy, so I didn't say anything. But anyway, this guy was leaning over the fence, patting on him like this. And then when Bundy had had enough, he just pulled his head off and away and walked off. And the guy went, okay, and he walked off. The guy didn't think he'd done anything wrong, and if I'd have said something to him, he would have thought I was a jerk. But the brutal honesty of it is, if you come up to say a young horse, he's in the pasture, and you reach over the fence, and you start rubbing him like this, and halfway through rubbing him, he just turns and walks off, you've taught that horse that any time he wants to break that little engagement with you, he can. Now, you know, doing it once is not going to affect anything, but if you do stuff like that consistently, you really teach them some bad habits. And years ago, when I first came to the States, I worked for a horse trainer named Don Murphy, and while I was working for Don, these people brought this 2-year-old in one time and for me to start, and he was pretty good, except when you went to do anything with the front of his mouth, right here, he would flip his head completely. I mean, his neck would almost bend back on his back. He would flip his head up in the air like he was going to flip over backwards. He was good about everything else, even the corners of his mouth, but right there, he would flip out. And eventually, like teaching him to accept the bit, what I had to do was take a lead rope and thread it through his mouth so it came out the other side. And then I start to drop it out and bring it back in and start to drop it out till I could actually get it all the way out and all the way back in. And that's how I got that part fixed. But I could never figure out why, you know, he was pretty casual about everything else, why he was so bad about that. One thing I did notice, he had a little overbite. So I'd probably had him about a month, and the owners came to see him one day, and he was standing there tied in the cross ties, and the wife of the owner, she was 15 feet from him. She walked up, she goes, "Oh, how's your overbite?" And she reached up and grabbed like that, and of course he flipped his head up. And what I would have imagined how this horse learnt that so bad was, I'm sure out in the pasture they'd go up to him. I'm not going to do it to Bundy because I don't want to teach him any bad habits. But they would probably just race up and try to grab a hold of his mouth and have a look and see if his overbite had got any better. Well, he was 2 years old and his overbite hadn't got any better. It's not going to get any better. Stop looking in there. But they had taught him to do that pretty badly. I had another horse a few years later that came in for some training, and he was really bad about his ears. Like, he was pretty casual about everything, but you go to move your hand up here and he would flip his head and almost try to rear up, like really a violent reaction to it. And after a while he came good with it, and he wasn't bothered about his ears. But I really couldn't figure out where that came from either, until one day I went to those people's place, and they had a barn, they had a breezeway sort of barn. They had like Dutch doors on either side, so they had some young horses in there, and their heads were hanging out over the doors like that. And as they walked down the barn aisle, they'd do this. I'm only going to do it with him once, but they do this. They go, "Hey little fella, how are you?" And that would happen. Oh, and they just walk off and go off to the next one. And they didn't realise they were teaching these horses, anytime a hand approaches your head, if you can fling your head around, it'll go away. I'm just going to come back and make sure he's cool with that. But they were teaching those horses that if a hand ever approaches your head, if you fling your head around, they'll make it go away. But they didn't think about the fact that they were actually teaching those horses to do bad things while they were doing that. So anyway, that's something to think about. Just think about every time you go near your horse, you're either teaching them something good or something bad. And it's just up to you to decide which one you want to teach them. So I hope that helps. See you guys next time.